Okay, I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Bridge to quickly create some proofs of your images and make them 800 pixels on the longest side. So the first thing I do, you'll notice I have my folders up over here, and let's take it from this particular shoot that I did. And the first thing that I did is you'll notice that there's all these different color codes down here. This is because what I do is I set up my labels, so you can customize your labels in the preferences of the bridge. So I come up over here and I have different labels that I can set up, and so it color codes them. Let me make one of these active. All right. So I click on label and you can see now these are active. So yellow is actually this one that's maybe, and I set up some custom labels here. So I go through first and I like to mark them whether I want to use them. Yellow is maybe for me, red means I process them and I'm done, and green means these are ones that I want to do. So, so let me show you where you can do that. You go into your preferences under Adobe Bridge. If you're on Windows, you should have similar preferences. Anyways, the preferences, you click on labels, and here's where it shows the color, and then it shows what each one of them means, and these are the keyboard shortcuts. So it's the command, in this case, is the command button and the number 6. So what I do is I go through each of my images, and as I look at them, I will just use command. Let's say, for instance, this one, say I wanted to go ahead and do this one, I would do Command 8. That'll make it green. If I change my mind, I just turn it off. So once I have gone through my whole list, which you see here, they're all different color codes, and I say, okay, only the ones in green are the ones that I want to make a JPEG of. Now I can also, if you wanted to do your maybes, so these would be ones that you're going to pick from your model. So usually you'll probably have a big list of them. So, but I've already obviously done a whole bunch that I've processed. But anyways, just for example's sake, you can pick more than one. So it's just over here you can filter in the bridge over here and filter on which labels you want. So that's what makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to select the ones I want. Actually, I want to get one that has, let's get one like this too. Let me change this one because I want to show you different orientations. Okay, so notice that I have just the green ones selected, and then there's 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 4 of them that are actually landscape oriented, and one of them that is portrait. So the first thing you want to do is, because we're going to make it 800 and you have to pick which side it's going to be on, we're going to pick, we're going to do the landscape ones first. So if I already have it filtered here and then I pick landscape, it's going to show just the landscape ones. Okay, so now what I do is I go up here to Tools and I go to Photoshop and I pick Image Processor. And that's going to bring up another dialog box. Well, it's going to start load Photoshop first for me because it's a Photoshop tool. And as soon as it's done, okay, I get this little window. Now what I want it to do is process files from bridge only, so it shows 4. That's the number that I have. So you can see in the bridge behind me there's 4. I don't want to open and apply settings. I'm just going to leave it like it is, so I leave that blank. That's if you wanted to run, because notice these are CR2s, which are my camera raw images. That's if you wanted to open one first and apply settings to it, but I'm just taking it the raw as it comes. Then what you can do is you select the location to save the processed images. So I like to select my folder, and I'll give it a folder name here. And I like to create a new folder, and we'll call this output. Now it's actually going to create another folder within here called JPEG, but I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so this is the destination folder where I'm going to put them. Remember where you're going to do it. Okay. Now I want to save these as JPEGs, and I want to resize them to fit. So these are going to be 800 wide, and you should make sure you know what the dimensions are to keep your dimensions the same. Usually 800 by 600 will work just fine but you might want to test it to make sure that it's what you're working on. Okay, so since these are landscape, I would go 800 wide and 600 high, and that's to make sure again that it doesn't lose it keeps its constrains its proportions and so forth. And I'm just going to make it a 10 quality, which is still a high quality, but as you know, Photoshop goes up to 12. I still like to make it have a decent quality, um, but not 100%. So we're going to make save as JPEG. I don't want to do a PSD or a TIFF, so we'll just do JPEGs. And then if you had some actions set up in Photoshop, you could actually run those here if you wanted, but I'm not going to do that. And this is if you want to include the profile information, any of the metadata that you have on the file, file name, etc., then you can. And I just leave that on by default. Okay, and then I run it. And it should be quick because there's only 4. So you'll just watch as it opens each image. Okay, and voila, nothing else is done here. So, but if I go back to my, let's open up my folder, my server. I'll show you where that is. Kim Kayla, output, and there you see this JPEG folder. And in here, there are my 4 images that I just did. Let's take a quick look at those 4. And you'll see, here's the dimensions. Okay, so it made it 800 on the longest. And in order to keep the proportions, notice it's not 600 but 533. Okay, that's a cool thing. I didn't realize that, but it makes it so that it couldn't go to 600, but it makes sure it keeps the longest. Okay, so then I have those. So now what I can do is I go back here. Let's minimize that. Go back to the bridge, and now I'm going to select my portrait version. And in this case, I only have one, but I still want to select that one. And then I'm going to go to Tools, Photoshop, Image Processor, as opposed to Batch. And you see it saves the same settings that I had the last time. So it has only one. You always double check that. Make sure your folder is correct. Same folder, output. And then I want it to resize to fit, and I'm going to say 600 wide by 800 high. 10 JPEG, and leave everything the same. Leave those unchecked and whatnot. And then I just hit run again, and it should open that one real quick and be done. So now let me go back to my folder, and here is that other image. And again, notice it kept the longest, and then the smallest one, it couldn't make it to 600, so it dropped it to 533. So now once I have all those, then I can easily upload. So you can do a whole batch, do all your landscapes first, then all your portraits, save them all into one folder, and then voila, you can set up your FTP or log into the to one of your websites and upload it there. It doesn't add any copyright info or anything, but you're assuming these are proofs that are going to go to your models, so so your models can look at them online. So for example, here is my website. Here we go. Here's where I uploaded them. So now my models can come in here and they can use the number here, and they can just, so I can quickly get them proofs, samples to look at, and then they can go through here and tell me the image numbers and tell me which ones are their favorites, and those ones I can work on first, so I can start getting them all the images that they want. So notice these are all raw, unprocessed, so there hasn't been any lighting corrections, moving. So it's important to make sure you let your models know that obviously these are raw. You haven't touched them up or anything. So these are all the unprocessed proofs. And that's all there is to it. Have fun.